Good Erev Shabbos. This week we read from Parshas Vayera, which contains some very compelling stories, not only about Avraham Avinu and Yitzchak, but also about foretelling about the destiny of the Jewish people. There's a very exciting and dramatic narrative about not only the destruction of Sodom, but leading up to the destruction of Sodom, how Avraham all of a sudden becomes the leading defense attorney for the wicked city of Sodom. Avraham learns about the impending destruction of Sodom, and he decides to take up its cause. It says in the Torah how Hashem reveals to Avraham about the impending destruction of Sodom. Yigash Avraham vayomar. Avraham goes close to Hashem and he starts to daven and he says, "V'havtis betzadik in Russia. Are you going to stamp out the righteous along with the wicked?" And he says, "Ula yesh chamishim tzadikim b'toch ha'ir." Perhaps there are 50 righteous men within the city. Will you just stamp out, and you will not spare the place because of the 50 tzaddikim that are in the city. It is sacrilegious for you from doing this thing in Russia, to kill the righteous with the wicked. Why it's tzaddik Russia, that the tzaddik will be like the Russia. It's sacrilegious for you, the judge of all earth, that will not do justice. It's the irony of ironies that Abraham addresses God and tells him it's sacrilegious for you to do something, but yet that is exactly what Abraham says. And Hashem actually concedes that point to Abraham. And he says, indeed, if there's 50 righteous people within Sodom, I will not get rid of Sodom, I will spare the city. But the reality is that there are now 50 tzaddikim within the city. But Yomer, and then he says, Bayan Avram Yomer, he says, spare me from speaking, allow me to speak, and I am still, he concedes, I am Afer Be'efer, I am just ash and dirt. But let's say that even though there are not 50 righteous people, perhaps there are 45 righteous people, and Hashem says, I will not destroy the city if there are 45 righteous people. And then he says, maybe there are 40 righteous people. He goes, I will not destroy the city if there are just 40 righteous people. He goes, perhaps there are 30 righteous people. And God says, I won't destroy the city for 30. He goes, maybe there are 20 righteous people. God says, I will not destroy the city for 20 righteous people. And then he says, finally, perhaps there are just 10 righteous people. And God says, I will not destroy the city for 10 righteous people. But the reality was there were not even 10 righteous men in Sodom. And that's when Abraham says in the pasuk, Shavum Kalva. Abraham went back to his place and the angels carried out their mission of destroying Sodom. But the whole exchange is so odd. Abraham is like a boxing match. 50, 40, are there 50 righteous people? Now Hashem says, no, he says 40, maybe 30, maybe 20, 10. Did we not know? Why does the Torah have to record this? That there weren't even 10 righteous people in the city of Sodom? Just say, are there 10 righteous people in Sodom? Let's not have to go through this whole dialogue. Avram becomes the leading defense attorney for the city of Sodom. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. And Hashem says there's not even 10 righteous people in Sodom. But I've heard this beautiful explanation that it is that Hashem was teaching us such a powerful yet profound lesson. And that is, sometimes there can just be 10 righteous people in the city. And the entire city can be spared on the backs of those few good men, those few righteous souls that rise up every morning, come to study Torah, those few righteous souls that rise up every morning and come to shul to minyan, those few righteous souls that rise up every morning and do the mitzvahs, despite the fact that there are so many other people that are not engaged in Torah study, despite the fact there are so many other people not engaged in tefillah, despite the fact there are so many other people making the wrong choices, but Hashem will spare civilization just because there may be a minyan of righteous people. There may be so many other people not doing the correct thing, but Ribono Shel Olam looks not necessarily at all the numbers. He just wants to know how few people sometimes are dedicated to him. And I say this message because in today's times, the vast majority of the world, the vast majority of Klal Yisrael is not necessarily always attached to Torah and mitzvahs, and sometimes we get discouraged with the numbers. We have to remember this powerful exchange between Abraham and Hashem at this pivotal moment before Sodom came to an end. We have to remember the lesson that Abraham taught us, that sometimes, even if there are just 10 people, just a few righteous souls, Hashem will spare an entire community, entire civilization, just on the back of those righteous men. So let us just be encouraged by the act of one person, the act of just a few people. Realize how impactful each and every person can be. Doesn't matter what the world is doing. Doesn't matter what the majority of the country is doing. It just matters what one person is doing. What you're doing just matters. Sometimes if you have just 10 people showing up to a minyan, Hashem will spare an entire civilization. I wish you all very good Erev Shabbos.